Whiplash is a truly inspiring story of a young drummer called Andrew Neiman, played by Miles Teller, who quickly, literally, the very first scene.
You know who I am?
Yes, sir.
The man who shall expose Spider-Man! Gets discovered by Terrence Fletcher, played by J.K. Simmons, who brings him into a studio band. The movie itself is pretty much based and exaggerated from true events. The director who also wrote the picture, Damien Chazelle, who attended Princeton High School, was in an extremely competitive jazz band and used the dread and depression he felt during those years in his screenplay. Fletcher's obscenely antagonistic character was actually based on his former band instructor, but vastly exaggerated, and the director confessed to writing the movie in frustration while he was trying to get his other picture, La La Land, to take off. Both films have a jazz theme to them and similar aspects in direction. Chazelle struggled for funding, so this whole project began as a short film with Johnny Simmons as the drummer. Fletcher was played by the same actor, and no, there's no relation. The short was around 18 minutes long, but gained attention at the 2013 Sundance Film Festival, gathering investors' interests, and Bold Film stepped in with $3.3 million to finance the picture.
That shit?
Dane DeHaan was offered the role of Andrew in the feature film, but turned it down before Miles Teller landed the part in August 2013. Filming took place a month later in Los Angeles, each shoot lasting around 14 hours per day, Teller doing all of his own intense drum work, which, by the way, the director wouldn't yell cut, intentionally allowing Miles to exhaust himself out. Hey Satan, you made a movie! The director actually told Simmons from the very beginning, I want you to take it past what you think the normal limit would be. I don't want to see a human being on screen anymore. I want to see a monster, a gargoyle, an animal. Between takes, Simmons was allegedly as nice as can be, which Chazelle claimed made the shoot not so nightmarish for the other actors. As opposed to Pam Ferris, who, as Miss Trunchbull, stayed in character between scenes just to scare the shit out of all of the kids.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
It's a fucking masterpiece.
What the fuck did you just say to me?
Right, I will start off by saying, every human being alive needs to watch this movie. I've not said this about any other film on this list yet, but I am begging you to go out, find a copy and watch it. Anyone who has any kind of dream, music or otherwise, which is pretty much everyone alive, Whiplash is a must-see, and I'm being deadly serious. You owe it to yourself, and you can thank me later. This is currently the greatest movie I've reviewed in this book thus far.
Catch on quicker and model you then?
Music is a universal language. Everyone likes music in one way or another, and the film doesn't generalize the plot around jazz. It doesn't focus on just fans of that particular genre, it's a character piece, and the main focus is Andrew, who you can't help but feel sorry for throughout the entire story. He's always being treated like shit, which is a cliche, yes, but this is on a whole nother level, and unlike other films that have tried to do this, it doesn't come across as cartoony, which I'll explain more in a bit. His journey is very, very real. So he joins this band and it seems to be his big break. He gets the first piece of abuse, but after the success starts to rise, it goes to his head a little bit, talking to his family like dirt, but it also helps his anxiety, allowing him to confidently pick up a girl for a date. Every single person alive has been talked down upon when trying to achieve their dream. There's no exception, which is exactly why this movie works so well. Everybody alive can relate to it. He's this ridiculously talented musician who just sits on the sidelines while others get preferential treatment, and he's completely underused and talked to like shit. Once he gets the abuse, he trains harder and for longer, gaining blisters, but he trains through the pain, and it's so inspiring. I'm sorry, I keep using that word, but it's all I can use to describe this film. Wait, let me check thesaurus.com real quick. Encouraging, uplifting, motivating. Motivating, yes, motivating, that's the one, motivating.
You got plenty of options still.
Even as a human being, I find this character so relatable in almost every way. Hell, there's a part where they lose the music sheets, but Andrew knows it off by heart, goes out, performs the track list, and saves the show. And everyone still talks to him like shit. It's the perfect underdog story, and you can really feel like he'll sacrifice anything for music. Hell, he breaks up with his girlfriend to pursue it, which may seem douchey at first, but again, it's very, very human. Oh, that's another one I keep using, hold on. Individual, humanistic, civilized, vulnerable. Vulnerable, yes, vulnerable! No, that's stupid. Inspiring. And his acting is incredible. After all the abuse that he puts up with, when he finally stands up to Fletcher, you actually feel proud of this character and you are really invested in the growth of his personality. However, okay, let's just get this out of the way.
It's a dick.
Oh. No big deal.
Right, so Fletcher reveals a former student of his was killed in a car crash. We later find out that he was actually just depressed from working with the guy and hanged himself, but it's clever foreshadowing as later, whilst rushing to get his drumsticks, Andrew gets into a car crash. He literally climbs out of the wreckage and goes to the show anyway. Yeah, no. Look, I get what they were going for here, that he'll sacrifice anything for music, but why couldn't he have just been hit by a normal car? A truck this size would put his ass in a coma. He won't be able to walk, let alone rush to this show, and no one bats an eye. I mean, yeah, they realise something's wrong and look around and everything, but they still continue to play, and even Fletcher just simply gets rid of him instead of, hey dude, you're covered in blood, what's going on? I mean, I know he's an arsehole, but Jesus! Oh, speaking of which, Fletcher's character, one of the greatest villains of all time.
I think he likes me more now.
Like, Jesus Christ, he is the most evil and vile human being ever put to screen. I mean, I know Miss Trunchbull was bad, but that was very cartoony, whereas this guy looks genuinely real. Just look at how he speaks to these kids.
There's no fucking Mars bar down there. What are you looking at?
Parker, that is not your boyfriend's dick. Do not come early.
Do you think you're out of tune?
Yes.
Then why the fuck didn't you say so?
Carried your fat ass for too long, Mets. I'm not gonna have you cost us a competition because your mind's on a fucking Happy Meal instead of on pitch.
Not only does he scream obscenities,
And I am not gonna have my reputation in that department tarnished by a bunch of fucking limp dick, sour note, flattered on their girlfriend's flexible tempo dipshits. Got it?
slap Andrew in the face in front of the entire class, causing him to cry.
Jesus fucking Christ! I didn't know they allowed retards into Schaefer. Am I to understand that you cannot read tempo? Can you even fucking read music?
Not only does he make fun of his absentee mother,
You are a worthless, friendless, faggot-lipped little piece of shit whose mommy left daddy when she figured out he wasn't Eugene O'Neill, and who is now weeping and slobbering all over my drum set like a fucking 9-year-old girl. So for the final father-fucking time, say it louder! I'm upset!
not only does he throw shit around and curse at them every waking minute,
Why do you suppose I just hurled a chair at your head, Neiman?
Because I refused to spoon with you last night?
not only does he force them all to stay at the studio playing until 2 AM despite bleeding all over the drum set. I'm pretty sure this is a deleted scene from Saw 6. Seriously, isn't this technically torture?
Are you upset? Yes or fucking no?
But when he's eventually reported and fired, he pretends to befriend Andrew, gains his trust, invites him to a gig to perform in front of a crowd that could literally make or break his entire career, only to then give him a song he's never heard of and doesn't know, publicly humiliating him in front of everybody.
The folder is your fucking responsibility, Tanner. Why would you give it to Neiman? Right? You give a calculator to a fucking retard, he's gonna try to turn on a TV with it.
But the reconciliation scene between the two, Fletcher turns more human and we actually hear his very real explanation. I mean, it doesn't condone his actions by any means, but a lot of people do think this way and strangely, it's really quite inspiring. A bit demented, warped and fucked in the head, but also inspiring.
I was there to push people beyond what's expected of them. Otherwise, we're depriving the world of the next Louis Armstrong, the next Charlie Parker.
But is there a line? You know, maybe you go too far and you discourage the next Charlie Parker from ever becoming Charlie Parker.
No, man, no. Because the next Charlie Parker would never be discouraged.
Yeah.
It took a warped, demented serial killer to inspire me to continue pursuing my dreams. Wow. He definitely deserves that Academy Award, and I also feel like he and Miles Teller have so much chemistry together. The latter is tremendous throughout the entire film and really grabs you by the feels many times. The last sequence? Oh my, the last sequence. So after he's publicly humiliated, he storms off the stage to hug his dad, and then he returns to the stage and performs the song he knows, improvising with the band who help him out and go along with it, and wow. Honestly, this is one of the, if not the, greatest scenes in movie history that I've ever seen, honestly. Fletcher risks his own band just for his own personal enjoyment of embarrassing Andrew and possibly ruining his entire future music career. That's so cold, but instead of being disheartened and giving up, Andrew returns with a big middle finger to prove him wrong, much to Fletcher's chagrin. And then, this final performance lasts just a little less than 9 minutes and there's hardly any dialogue. The only spoken words is Andrew telling his nearby musician that he'll cue him in, Fletcher asking what the hell he's doing, but other than those throwaway unnecessary filler lines, nothing is spoken, and yet there's more character development in this one sequence than in most movies today in their entirety. The scene begins with Andrew and Fletcher hating each other. At first, the latter just goes along with the performance, but once it's finished, Andrew continues drumming and he can't believe it, playing a tempo he was completely incapable of doing earlier on in the film. But through the power of music and facial acting, the art form brings them both together. Fletcher notices Andrew's talent, realizes he's something special and is going to be something huge, and reverts back to being his mentor. It's absolutely beautiful storytelling, and the dialogue just wasn't even needed. This easily makes Chazelle one of the finest directors of the entire last decade. The director stated he made this ending to inspire discussion and debate and not decide, are we happy for Andrew or are we lamenting his loss of humanity? The debate I love is how far too far? How much is too much? Is it worth it? This kind of relentless abuse might be necessary and appropriate if you're training Navy SEALs, but I don't know if it's appropriate in a music school. But it's there and it can be productive, there's no denying that. From my own perspective, I'd rather have a pretty girlfriend than go work with this guy and have my hands bleed all the time. I would have made a different choice. I actually like the open ending now that I put it into perspective a bit more, but I would like to see a follow-up and see how these characters develop more, and there's even more possibilities where they could take the story further and expand upon it. The movie itself is honestly phenomenal with so many inspiring and uplifting messages.
Dying broke and drunk and full of heroin at the age of 34 is not exactly my idea of success.
I'd rather die drunk, broke at 34 and have people at a dinner table talk about me than live to be rich and sober at 90 and nobody remember who I was.
And literally, the only complaint I can actually come up with is that car crash sequence. That's it. The film is, sorry, one last time, inspiring as hell. It hits you in all the right feels, the direction brings forth the emotion, the character is beyond likable and endearing, and the story is so well written, backed up by two of the greatest acting performances in recent years. This is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. And if you have not seen it, please do yourself a favor and go and check it out ASAP.